Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. First off, if you hear any background noises, my door in my room is just open. The dog is just down here, and if I shut it, Jake will push it open, and yeah. So if you hear any noises in the background, that's the reason. So this is going to be my part 2 of my October 2022 wrap up. I usually don't do 2 parts for my wrap up. Usually they're just the books. But because October, I was doing so much and reading so much and watching so much, I created a separate list for the books that I read and the films I've watched and the TV series as well. I usually don't talk about all the stuff that I have watched for the month, but because it was Halloween, I thought that it would be appropriate. And also, just to have interest, let me know if you guys would be interested in me doing a movie list thing for Christmas time. And as well, I just want to say how grateful I am about how many people have watched my, the first part of this video. Whenever I do wrap-ups, I always think that people aren't really going to give a shit. I just have that stigma attached to wrap-ups. People don't really care, or don't really want to watch them. But thank you so much if you have, and also thank you for Regina's Haunted Library, because she did a shout out for me and it's increased my sub count by a little bit, so that's really cool. So thank you so much for that, Regina. It was really nice. So with all that out of the way, let's just go straight to the list. I don't really talk about movies, so this is going to be kind of a weird thing for me to talk about. So I watched Dahmer and a Dahmer inspired documentary, both on Netflix. These are both separate things. So the Dahmer, the TV show, which retells the story about how Jeffrey Dahmer got caught for murdering people, to put it lightly, and his sentencing. And we also see a little bit about his past as well. And the documentary is just a standard documentary about Dahmer. Haven't completed both of these, but I probably will sometime this month. But I really liked them, they were really cool. So on Netflix, I watched Sleepy Hollow, starring Johnny Depp. I've watched this numerous times, and I like the atmosphere. If you don't know what it is, it's the tale of the Headless Horseman, and yeah, it's a really good story. It really is. It's real dark and atmospheric. Tim Burton at his best before he got to Alice in Wonderland. I think this is where Tim Burton has to get back to the weird and dark and strange and unusual, rather than the oddball and whatever the hell Alice in Wonderland was. The next thing I watched on Netflix was The Craft. Now this is the original Craft. There is a sequel on Netflix, but I watched the original. I knew this was about witches, but I have never watched it before. But this is pretty much like a group of teenage witches in high school, and how this new girl gets recruited into their coven or their group, and they first seem to be friends. They seem to be experimenting with all these spells, but kind of out of left field, they kind of turn on her. I think the purpose is that they get really consumed with magic and corrupted by power, and they become evil. And it just seems a bit weird that they wanted to turn on their friend and try to kill her, when just a couple of scenes ago they were chatting and experimenting. But I really liked it. It'd be interesting to see if the sequel was any good or not. Probably not. The next two things that I watched are on Blu-ray, and they are Halloween and Halloween Kills. When I say Halloween, I mean the remake. I don't mean the original one or the Rob Zombie one. It's kind of funny that there is so many Halloween movies out, or Friday the 13th movies out, or Nightmare on Elm Streets, that when we say them titles, we have to clarify that this is the one that we mean. I haven't watched Halloween Ends. I know I did say that I was going to watch it on Halloween Day, but, you know, I changed my mind. Well, with that and the combination of I couldn't be bothered to go down to the cinema and watch it. But Halloween, the first one, I rewatched it. And it's a good movie, it really is. But let's be honest, the original is far superior. And Halloween Kills is okay. It was a bit boring. They kind of got the town involved. It felt that they didn't know what direction they wanted to go with the sequel, so they just decided to go with the whole pissed off town trying to get rid of Michael Myers and this threat to their town. But with that said, you would think that it'd be like a massive crowd, hundreds and thousands of people, when in reality it just seemed to be a group of about anything from about 10 to 50 people. It's like, where were the other people? Are they asleep? Are they on holiday? Don't they give a shit? So if you're going to go in this direction, at least go to it full force and just commit to it. But it was a okay movie, a kind of a turn your brain off type of film, which shouldn't be the case when it comes to horror. The next thing that I watched was something on Netflix called The Curse of Halloween Jack. And I have never seen this before. I'm not even sure if it's out on DVD or Blu-ray. But I thought I would give it a shot. It was very short, so I thought, okay, if it turns out to be rubbish, it's no massive loss. This was the biggest wet fart ever. This was extremely boring. I know that it gave me the impression that it was inspired by the Halloween movies or franchise. It was about a cult that when they sacrifice themselves, they bring back the spirits of an entity called Halloween Jack, which is pretty much this massive creature in this scarecrow outfit, which is all fair enough. But the scarecrow outfit was extremely poor and unthreatening. It had this massive smile on its face, and every single time it turned up, it did this dopey side look on its face. When the character is confused, and the only way that they can portray, okay, our character is confused, but we can't see his face, so we have to, communicate that to the audience. They say, okay, he's confused, so he's going to tilt his head in confusion. It's like, really? He did that in pretty much every single scene that he was in. And I'm not even sure if it was a dude, it could be a girl, but who cares? Who cares? I certainly don't. When you watch a movie and you're so bored, you keep on checking the time to see how much more, or clicking on the screen to see how much the run time is, or how much you've got to go until the end of the movie. I lost count about how many times I did this. I think I must have done it about 20 times. It was so bad. The reason why I continued watching it and completed it is because it was short, and I watched a big chunk of it already. So I thought, okay, I watched a big chunk of it, and I might as well commit to it. The acting was abysmal and terrible. Everyone would have been terrible in a porn movie, to be honest. And the lighting was terrible. Probably the music was terrible, if I could even remember the music. It's one of the movies which I think that would have been bad regardless, even if you were drunk, even if you were completely pissed out your head and watched it. Even to make fun of it, it would have still been a bad movie. Yeah. It was terrible, it really was. I'm never going to watch it again, it's terrible. The next one I watched was another Netflix movie, which was new to the year. I'm pretty sure it was brand new for this year. And that was The Curse of Bridge Hollow. Now, this is about a black family. A father, mother, and a daughter that are moving to this new town, and it was really good. It opened up with a kind of a, like, I wouldn't say a racist joke, but a jab against white people when their father said that, "You smell that? It smells like white privilege." I thought, oh, okay, this is what this movie's going to be. It's going to be a movie where it's going to be jabbing at, white people were bad, black people were good, all that stuff. Which, you can have a little, dig at another person's race, and have a little honest laugh, even if it's not, as long as it's not offensive. But I'm quite happy that it didn't do that for this movie. This was a really good film about obviously the family move into a house. The daughter finds this like creepy jack-o'-lantern hidden in the wall, and when it's lit, it reincarnates a evil spirit that can inhabit and bring to life all the Halloween costumes and Halloween decorations in this community. And they come together as a group and battle these costumes and these Halloween creatures. And it was really good. It was really good. It was one of the movies which wasn't too serious, and it like made fun of itself. It knew that it wasn't going to be like the biggest blockbuster and the most serious movie ever, and it just had fun with it. And you can tell that the actors and actresses had fun while doing this movie. You could see it clearly on the screen. And this was a breath of fresh air. This was extremely enjoyable to watch. I couldn't really complain too much about this movie. And even at the end, there was a kind of a nudge that there might be a Christmas special or a Christmas movie set in this town, which, yes, please, I would love that. And I would love to have more sequels from this whole franchise movie. I would like this to be like a couple of sequels. That was a really good. So The Curse of Bridge Hollow, really good movie, especially if you've got Netflix. I'm not sure if it's out on other platforms or DVD or whatever, but if you've got Netflix, then I would really recommend it, especially if you're not too put off with watching a Halloween movie outside of October. Next I watched was Tremors on Netflix. I've watched Tremors numerous times. I know what it's about, but it's just like a fun sci-fi horror movie about this town in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, where these massive slug-like creatures burrow underneath the ground, and they hunt people through vibrations that they make. So if they're walking on the surface or making loud noises, they can just hone in on that person and drag them under and eat them. And it's just about a town trying to come together and trying to survive this. I'm not really sure if I would classify it as a classic, but it's definitely a good movie that knows that it's got a silly premise, but it has fun with it. I know this has got 1,000,000,001 sequels. I'm not really interested. I might watch number 2, but probably as the sequels go on, the franchise gets more and more ridiculous and stupid. But Tremors, I really enjoyed it. Next thing I watched on Netflix was Friday the 13th, which was the 2009 version. This kind of combines several of the other original Friday the 13th movies put together. It combined the first one, the second one, and the third one all mashed together into one movie. And yeah, it's really good to actually watch a Friday the 13th movie. You can't really go wrong with a Jason Voorhees movie, regardless what one it is. Well, Jason X is kind of debatable, but this one was a good one. The acting in it was good. The set was, all the sets were good. The lighting was good. The actor that they played as Jason was really good, and there was even a character that Jason thought that was his deceased mother. That the character looked so much like his dead mother that he thought that this character was Jason's mother, you know, if that made any sense. That's what they did with the second original movie. But yeah, that was a good movie. Obviously there were characters in this where they were in these situations and you knew that, okay, that person's clearly going to die because they're going to go out by themselves at night, and you know they're going to die because they're by themselves there at night. They're going into like a shed by themselves, and you know that they're going to get killed. So, but yeah, it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. Next thing I watched on Netflix was a movie called Piranhas. Obviously, this is about a movie about killer fish. This is focused on a seaside town where all the teenagers and all the young people are having all these parties on the ocean, you know, in their boats and swimming around, and girls getting their boobs out and all that stuff, and people getting drunk and all that stuff, and having loud music around and dancing and all that stuff. God, I feel old. And there's this forgotten species of killer piranhas. I'm sure that all piranhas are killers, but you know what I mean. These genetically enhanced massive piranhas, and there's thousands and thousands of them that get released into this community, and it can get very, very gory. The visual effects in it are fantastic, and it was a really good movie. It really was. There was one character in it which was kind of like a sexist pig, seeing all boobs and girls and naked girls. Oh yeah, it's like, can that person please die? You know. But we were following this young man that wanted to impress these two attractive girls, and there was this other girl that we were giving the impression that they were going to be boyfriend and girlfriend at the end, and it's just a survival story, and it was a good story and a good movie. Not sure if I'll be watching all the other sequels, but it was a alright movie. Next I watched was a few seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I got inspired to watch it again because of Elizabeth Sagewood. She did a book haul where she talks about some Buffy books, and I've got all the Buffy seasons on DVD. I watched them already. It's a big part of my time as a teenager watching them, and I'm just making my way slowly but surely through them. But yeah, you can't go wrong with Buffy. And on Halloween day I bought a Blu-ray and I watched it. That was a documentary about the original It movie by Stephen King, and it gave you the impression on the cover that it was about Pennywise and the whole character of Pennywise the dancing clown, but it was more of a overall documentary on everything, the clown, the kids, the movie as a whole. It broke down all the aspects of it, the music and all that stuff, and it was a good documentary. It really was. And I watched the special features, and it was a good movie. It really was. I mean, it is a good movie, but it's a documentary. That's what I was going to say. I was going to be watching the original It movie, but it's massive, so I didn't really think I had time to watch it. But I love the original movie. And then after I watched the documentary, I watched part 1 of the remake of It, chapter 1, and it's good. I've watched it. I've seen it before in cinemas. I've seen it numerous times. Yeah, I love it. It's a really good film, and I think at the beginning of this month I watched chapter 2. Not as good as the first chapter, but it's still a good movie. I do not know why they chose to have the adult Richie character being sexually attracted to Eddie. It didn't really have that vibe even in chapter 1 or in chapter 2, or I'm not even sure if it's even in the book. So I'm not sure why they went in that direction. So maybe they felt that they had to, represent gay people in their movie in some way. I don't know. But guys, that is it. That has been part 2 of my October wrap up, the movies and TV shows. Hopefully you found this somewhat interesting. I don't usually talk about all this stuff on my channel, but as I said at the start, Let me know if you're interested in me doing this for Christmas. So yeah, but if you're interested, I will be more than happy to do it. And if you have watched this part and you haven't watched part 1, please watch it. I will have it linked down below. And yeah, I will try to have this come out today, but if I can't, it'll probably come out on Monday or sometime during next week. But yeah, guys, with all that out of the way, I will see you in my next video.